going. Today we are going to talk about team building for success 2.0. And just to put things into perspective, there's a gentleman who said, I believe that's the author of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he talked about how we move through 3 stages. Dependence, you're depending on other people. Independence, you're just by yourself. And then interdependence, where you co-create together. Team building is about interdependence. It's about creating together. And the other author put it this way, that if you want to go very fast, go alone. If you want to go farther, go with the team. And geese, they made research and they discovered that one goose, excuse me, if it's a group of geese moving together, they move 70% longer when they are flying in unison compared to when that goose is moving alone. Therefore, there is a lot of value in teams. The greatest leaders always know how to harness their teams and to get the most from there. Great. So let's look at this in terms of moving forward with teams. So these are the 5 aspects. Again, the clarity, where we look at what is it, why is it important, the mindset, the strategies, the skill sets, and then the mastery. Excuse me. Let's look at the definitions here. In that team building in the workplace, it's really a process of creating a team that is cohesively working together towards a common goal. That's what a team really is, ultimately. And then, when we talk about team buildings, those activities we undertake to make sure that the team members increase their overall performance. So why team building? It can help your workforce get on the same page, work together, and increase their motivation. And also, when team building exercises are implemented, employees build trust and a spirit of unity. That's what it is. It improves, you have improved organizational image when teams work together. There's less stress, less fatigue, and more happiness when we have teams. So here are some facts to remind ourselves that 86% of employees and executives cite lack of collaboration or ineffective communication for workplace failures. So meaning because typically you find any organization is that interconnectedness at play. So when that is broken, then usually something else breaks down the road. And either it could be collective or at an individual level. So 97% of employees and executives believe lack of alignment within a team impacts the outcome of a task or project. It's according to McKinsey. So according to Forbes, employees who acted collaboratively stuck at their tasks 64% longer than their solitary peers, while also reporting higher engagement levels, lower fatigue levels, and higher success rate. Because think about it, when you are going to do everything yourself, it tires you. Sometimes it helps to know that there's someone watching your back. It also helps you to know that, okay, I'm not alone. It helps you to know that, okay, I can ask a question where I need help or where I need support. So when you know that you have all this, it really gives you that longevity in the tasks that you're engaged in. But when you're alone, a lonely place is not a place you want to stay in longer. But a place where you know there's a team effort, there are all these dynamics at play, it quickens that process, that touch. 39% of employees report a lack of collaboration, okay, according to Troop Messenger. So which is close to 40%. They complain that there's a lack of collaboration. And when we talk about this, also when I'm raising these stats, you need to ask yourself this question. Because it's not just about you building a team. The question is, are you a great team player? Are you a great team player? So you need to pay attention to that always. So, all right, so as a team, so remember each member is extremely important and there's no person who is less valuable. In soccer, the analogy is that there are no winners in a losing team and there are no losers in a winning team. But my perspective is every human being is extremely valuable. Because at every point of concern, the difference is in who contributes the most in that perspective. Let me give you an example. If you, like right now, how I deliver right now is extremely important because I'm the center of attention right now. And yet the person who's designing the slides is extremely important at that particular moment because how they design the slides is very important. The person who opened, in this case, Samantha, how they perform in that moment, they are the most critical because how they communicate is very important at that particular moment. So we are all very critical pieces of the puzzle, especially at different contexts, timings, and positions. So it's very important to remember that, in that at every piece, at every junction, there's always that critical person who is key. For example, when it comes to security matters, then if there's a security challenge, then the security person, when you are entering the premises, it's not the owners of the premises who are most critical. No, it's the person at the gate at that moment. How they handle, or whether it is security related or customer service related, at that particular moment or junction, they're extremely important. Yet if it comes to signing or not signing an agreement between a business and someone else, then the owners at that particular junction, they are the most critical. If you're going to the bathroom, at that particular moment, the cleaner, the person in charge of cleaning is the most critical and crucial. Not the MD, not the CEO, no. So when we talk about these things, some people think, oh, I am more important than no. It depends on the context. It depends at which junction are we talking about. Other than that, we are all very crucial at different moments. And at each moment, if one drops the ball, the whole is affected. Let's also remember that growth is a result of the increased capabilities of the entire team. So what I mean by that, the more the team grows together, the better the results. So growth should be an effort championed by leaders and embraced by all. So it's you to champion the goal. It's you to champion the growth, I beg your pardon. And if you're championing that, everyone else has to be behind that route. And you need to get everyone on board. So you need to sell what it is. You need to think that, okay, I have this idea, but then I have to sell it. You have to sell the idea. You have to get the rest of the team on board. So if the idea is not championed, then it's just a segment for one or a segment for few. So remember, for when we talk about teams, the mindset should always be, if you want people to grow, if you want the organization to grow, it's just not enough for you as a leader or as an initiator of the idea that it is there. You have to bring the rest on board. And the bigger, the more members who are on board, the better. So if you find that it's a small clique who are behind the idea, then you need to ask yourself, how do I get the rest of the members on board? The other mindset is what I call conflict embracing mindset. Look, conflict is inevitable where you have teams. So for teams to be resilient and innovative, they must be willing to roll up their sleeves and tussle and keep everyone engaged in active debate on the tough subjects in order to find the best creative solutions. So it doesn't mean ignoring conflicts or avoiding conflict. No, it's just that awareness to say, okay, if there are people together, there's going to be conflict. If there are people interacting, there's going to be conflict. And that's why one of the segments we talked about conflict management or resolution. So you have to be comfortable with the idea that there will be disagreements, there will be conflicts. And therefore, once you know that, then it's okay to ask yourself, how do I use this conflict to get the teams together? How do I use this conflict to enhance innovation? How do I use this conflict to get people to move forward together? So the point I want to put across is that if you are always thinking about avoiding conflict or fighting conflict, it won't work. The idea is to embrace it and manage it. Embrace it or welcome it and manage it. And look at it as normal. It's part of the game, so to speak. The fourth mindset, which is important, is the results matter more than time and effort. That's why the saying goes that there's a difference between movement and achievement. So enterprises are more focused on results, and teams should be given an environment that allows them to deliver results. So part of your mindset when you're building a team is the result. What results do we have? How else or what else do we need to do to deliver a result? So it's crucial or critical that you pay attention to this dynamic always. To ask yourself, are we focused on just movement, that people came in clocked in at 8 and left at 5? Or are we driven to find out what did we achieve during that time between 8 to 5? Now, I'm here to propose to you that part of your mindset should be about more of production rather than just action or just appearing. And there are people who just want you to appear. They just, oh, is he there? Okay. And once they are there, they are happy. But little is investigated at a deeper level to say, okay, what did he achieve? What did she achieve? So I implore you, I'm inviting you in that whether you're a team player or team leader, remember the key is a result. The results you create will uplift the team. If you as a team leader, you focus on the results, the results will help the team to drive forward. Yeah. The other mindset that is important is the interdependent mindset, which I hinted on when I was opening. The teams with an interdependent mindset become more than the sum of their parts. People put their egos aside and make sacrifices for the company's broader mission. This could mean sacrificing your own goals to support the goal of a team member. Now, that doesn't mean that you should always sacrifice. The point I'm making is that there are those moments where you need to sacrifice your ego, where you need to sacrifice your position. And you say, you know what? This is it. I need to sacrifice for the sake of the organization. I need to sacrifice this for the benefit of the bigger game or goal. So we have to think at that level and say, okay, what is it? What is it? What's going on? Is there something else I need to let go of for the good of the team? So it's good. And that again, just to be clear, it's not about you being selfless 100% of the time. There are moments when you need to be selfish to go and get your fish out of the lake because you have certain goals. It is what it is. And there are those moments where you need to be selfless and you put your ego aside and say, okay, for the good of the team, I choose to do this. Let's go. Let's go. And there are moments also where you feel that if the team goes the direction that they're choosing to go, it's going to be very costly. Then it's okay to stand your ground and be a lone voice. There are also those moments. So it's about using your intelligence in the moment and decide. The question is around an interdependent mindset. So when we talk about interdependent mindset, it's just for you to know that you are not, there's that famous saying that no man is an island, and it's true. It's to remind yourself that we are dependent on each other. It's a system. And for example, I don't know where you work at, but wherever you work at, you know that you depend on each other. I'm yet to find a product or service that does not depend on a team somehow, whether directly or indirectly. The difference is in how many team members are involved, but show me any product or service, organization or department, and I'll show you a group of people working together. So it's just you reminding yourself of that, because there are some individuals who think that, number one, they are indispensable, or they think they're the most valuable or most important. And when you think that way, it's like you're disregarding the rest. That's why you hear me almost all sessions, I thank the team supporting me, because I know that without their support, I can't do everything on my own. I initiated the idea, well and good. Guess what? I need other people to support me to make this happen. And guess what? We also need the participants like you to make the whole cycle complete. So it's that once you have that mindset, then it helps you to look at other people as valuable, as important, and it makes that spirit of teamwork or team building much, much easier to buy into. So that's where. All right, so let's continue on the segment of strategies. What are those strategies for strengthening teams? Because it's very important that you think through that. The first strategy to pay attention to is the results-based strategy. And I hinted on one of the mindsets is results. Therefore, one of the strategies has to be results-based strategy. And what you do here is you focus on results. You focus on what people can do. You clearly define what different teams need to do. And you look at the individual contributions to the whole and ensure that results are attributed to the teams. So and it's okay. So let me put it this way. It's okay sometimes to appreciate and celebrate people's engagements, people's achievements at an individual level, even more so if there are opportunities to celebrate the whole team's engagement, even better. So remember to do both. And I believe in both, to be honest with you, because I also don't believe in just making blanket statements, and we forget also those special contributions that individuals make. So it's very okay to celebrate individuals, and it's okay to celebrate teams. You need to balance the two. Now, when it comes to team performance, you need to clearly define what you want each member to focus on. So like on the team that is supporting me, there are those whose focus is technical, there are those whose focus is marketing, there are those whose focus is, say, in communications and service. So there has to be that level of awareness. Otherwise, not everyone is meant to do everything. Otherwise, you'll have confusion around the place. So be clear on that. But it starts with you defining what that result is. That's the result-based strategy. The second strategy, which is very important, is the communication strategy for teams. You have to give and accept feedback. And it should, of course, that feedback should be delivered in a way that supports the individual's growth and development. It's also important in terms of identifying potential blind spots and also increasing awareness through other people's perceptions. So when you say identifying potential blind spots, it means identifying those areas of weakness that need to be improved. So, meaning one of the core strategies is to say, okay, how do we have useful, productive, engaging communication channels, as an example, and habits? So that has to be clear-cut, because without proper communication, a lot will be lost in translation. And you have to be very disciplined, especially as a team leader, to make sure that the communication being delivered is productive or is helpful for the overall growth and development of the team. Next is the social life strategy. One of the strategies is to pick interest in people's social life. Get teams to celebrate social milestones, encourage social touch points among team members. Because remember, these are human beings, these are social beings. So you need to support or find ways and means to get people to connect at that social level. It could be to celebrate people's birthdays. It could be to, it could be, what are those showers? Is it baby shower? It could be baby showers. It could be to celebrate someone whose child passed highly. We did that recently in our mastermind group. So you need to, and when you say encourage social touch points among team members, see there are some organizations, for example, who decide that, you know what, every Friday evening, we go for a run as a team. And now with the current dynamics, it might mean, how about, one of the things we will be paying attention to is virtual team building. How about having lunch over Zoom? All right, you're sitting in different homes, but you're having lunch over Zoom. How about that? Because of what's going on at the moment. That's encouraging social touch points among team members. What are those things that we can do to remind ourselves of the social? And when I say pick interest in people's social life, as a manager, for example, this is very important in a sense that if all you're always communicating about is work, and you never think about people's lives, it's going to be a challenge. So you have to show me that you care about me, or you care about my personal life, then I'll care about your work life, folks. I'll care about the goals you're putting before my table. And when we are talking about these strategies, it's not just about pick that strategy, leave that strategy. As you will notice that we need all these strategies working together in unison to have maximum impact. The other strategy that is important is the open culture strategy. See, transparency is key. Teams must feel that they are in the know and that they are not outsiders. Keep them informed when things are going right or when the times are challenging. Maintain an open door policy. And I should add, not just maintain an open door policy, you should maintain an open heart policy. Because one thing opening your door, it's another thing opening your heart and mind. Have you opened your heart and mind? Now, when I say transparency, I really mean that, because that's one thing, at least I know I'm very, very strong at, the issue of making sure that people communicate in the open. They can speak up, and gossiping is not allowed. We let people know what we are thinking, or they should tell me what they are thinking. Because the moment there is no openness, trust is lost. And once trust is lost, you cannot do much, period. If trust is lost, a lot is lost. And one of the ways to increase trust in teams is to have that open culture. And if you're the type of leader who likes creating divisions, the divide and rule method, forget that. It's not sustainable. Bring people here, you create divisions, and there are those leaders who are like that. And in case you have such thoughts, please, or strategies, please stop it. It's not good. So the point I'm making is just remember that ultimately you want to make sure that as much as possible, there's a certain sense of openness. There's a certain sense of engagement where people know they can speak up, they can express themselves, they can just be. The other strategy is the appreciation strategy. So remember that people don't quit their jobs, but they quit bad managers. Employees need to feel appreciated. You can have a reward program based on achievement. Okay, sorry, I wanted to mean, just a second. All right, cool. Yeah, so let the reward program be based on achievement, not just who smiles at you, who always says yes, because there are people who also use rewards to punish people. Oh, okay, you want this. Oh, you're always saying yes to this. Okay, then I'll give you this. And that's not cool at all. But when you define things, or when you define rewards based on specific parameters, to say, all right, here to be rewarded with blank, you have to do 1, 2, 3 things. Then once that is clear, then it's not an issue of debate or what you're feeling, it's an issue of what it is. That's the fact. And also you need to learn to say thank you both in private and in public, especially when it's a thank you, let it be in public. And also add detail when people do good things. What I mean by that is don't just mention the good things, mention the benefits, what that person has done, has brought to the table. So for example, you say, you know what, I appreciate you always coming on time, because then as a result of that, the office is opened on time. And then when the service providers come, they find the place ready and set to go. And that makes our suppliers happy, and we get the supplies on time, which means we prepare the meals on time, which is very, very good for our business. So all of a sudden, someone sees that, okay, it's not just about me keeping time, it's about the overall performance of the business actually derives all these benefits. Okay, cool. And ultimately, you have to make appreciation a part and parcel of your strategy. This is one of the most important, because most people feel that they are not appreciated enough. They feel they do a lot and they are appreciated this little. Now, let's talk about skill sets. And these are the 6 critical steps in building a performing team. Number one is you need to identify a task and its intended outcomes. What's the task at hand? What are the outcomes? Number two, you need to identify individuals to perform the task, their input and how this will be tracked. Ensure to have people in areas of their strength and interests. So when you're building a team, you need to remind yourself of that. In that when you're deploying members or when you're deploying people, you deploy them in areas or aspects where they will feel like they are performing at their very best. So there are people I know, I mean, if I want to, there are people I know who are good at content, there are people I know who are good at communication. So you have to think that way, because then that way members are enjoying what they are doing. And if you put people in areas that they hate, they won't perform. Having said that, it's also okay to stretch members a bit, to grow in other areas. So if you're building a team and you know, especially when people, not especially, yeah, usually for the younger generation, they are still more open to explore other things and they want to learn as many things as possible. So it's okay to stretch them outside their comfort zone so that they can learn and grow. So if you want to expand the repertoire of skills and abilities for different teams, it's also okay or good enough for you to put them in other areas where they may not be fully comfortable with, but to grow in that area. Of course, you do it step by step. So what I mean by step, let's just suppose someone is comfortable with computers, as an example, and you feel they can sell. So instead of telling them, oh, now, beginning tomorrow, you're going to start to spend 5 hours a day making calls for sale, sales calls. Whoa, wait a minute. That's like shaking them out of this. It will be too much for them. So instead, you can say, you know what? This week, can you do 30 minutes of calls? Then coach them, mentor them. 2 weeks later, they can go to an hour. 2 months later, they can go to 1.5. And then over time, they can grow in that aspect. Number 3 is instill a culture of performance. No excuses policy should be adopted. Excuses, very, very costly. So as much as possible for you as a leader, you need to push the team, to push yourself, to see, okay, how do we eliminate this culture of excuses? Because if you don't, then by the end of the day, you'll be having a basket full of excuses with no results to write home about. So when we talk about team building for performance, I mean for success. Here, success, we mean building results, desired results. That's what defines your success. And if you're to deliver on that, one of the things you must eliminate is this culture of excuses. And you say, you know what? No excuses are allowed here. We want results, period. Find a way. Find a way. One of the teachers had him put across and say, you know what? Doing your best is not enough. You do whatever it takes. And I was like, whoa. Because before then, that was like, 3 years ago. So when I first heard that, I was like, whoa, that's an interesting insight and perspective. Said Ethan, I've always told, do your best and God will do the rest. I still do. And I'm saying, you know what? Those moments where doing your best is not enough. You have to do whatever it takes. I also like adding the caveat, so long as it is legal, moral, and ethical. Oh, dear. Because when I said do whatever it takes, I mean, I say, okay, what if it is stealing or killing? No, that's not legal. It's not moral. It's not ethical. So if it is legal, moral, and ethical, you do whatever it takes. You find a way. I remember when I was doing the 90 days sales challenge, one of the One of the days it phoned me when I was on the road, and but I had a phone, and there was a lot of jam, and I knew I could not postpone the event. So what did I do? The good news is I was in an Uber, so it wasn't me who was driving. So I started the segment on phone. Couldn't use the excuse of I'm on the road not to start the event. That's what we mean by doing whatever it takes. You also have to find a way to build connection between the team members, and the leader must continuously evaluate the way the members of the team are working together. Is there a healthy dynamic? Is there something you need to change? And there are moments whereby you may need to move one team member and put them in another group because you know that they would most likely fit in a different setting compared to this other setting. So you need to keep a team thermometer, whether there is thermometer, possibly there is a thermometer. Just keep your thermometer alive. Check in. Are people behaving well? Are they interacting fine in a way that is helpful and beneficial or not? And if not, what do you need to do? What do you need to change? Next, check in. Get reports, get involved, find out how the team is performing, keep emphasizing why the task is crucial, and have meetings. Keep checking in, because just like you choose to say, okay, every end of year, let me go and do a health checkup, or let me go and just take my car for checkup. Same thing. Check on your team. How are they performing? How are they feeling? Also, if they are working on a task, keep reminding them how useful this task is. I believe it was yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I believe it was yesterday. When I was meeting the team to check in for the daily check-ins, I was telling them, I told them, I really deeply appreciate your engagement and involvement in this, because I know it's a toll on you, and yet, in a way, please note that we are adding value to the world. So I have to communicate why the task we are involved in is crucial or important. Because if you don't, sometimes it's easy to forget. Sometimes it's easy to forget. So you need those reminders. You need those segments where you can, or those opportunities where you can put the big goal in front of people's eyes, and they see what they are pushing towards, or what they are aiming at, or what they are aiming for. And then that goal will attract them. It will remind them to stay engaged fully. Next, invest in team building events and exercises. Then review, evaluate, and reward. Investing in a team building event is not an expense, it's an investment. And what I recommend is get an external firm, get a consultant, and that's an area where Success Africa we are great at. And so that's, in case you feel inspired, that's an area we could help you in, whether it is face-to-face or virtual. And that's something we've done for very many years. And at the same time, if you feel that that's not us, it's also fine. Find another firm or an individual, a consultant. That's perfectly fine. Or the point I'm making is, when you get an external person, they may be able to see things that you may not be able to see. And usually how they perceive an internal person is different from how they perceive an external person. They listen to you with more open ears compared to someone who's been there. You start opening, they're like, come on, we know what you're going to say. No. So please invest in team building events. That's one. At least once a year it would be useful. And then for these other social engagements or events, those you can do internally. Say, okay, up until these current dynamics where things have changed dramatically, at least what I used to hear, not what I used to hear. So you could decide and say, okay, this quarter, this team are going to, or this department is the one which is going to organize the whole event for this lunch or this fun getaway or whatever it is. And when I say getaway, of course, sounds expensive, but you could even do just things from the office if you can, once things normalize, or at someone's home, or you can just be creative. It could be to do runs, it could be just do things, it could be to play ball, it could be to play home games, whatever it is. Next, of course, review, evaluate, and reward. These are critical pieces in that if you go through them, then you will definitely see a big time difference. Because it's not enough to be engaged in all these activities that I'm talking about, the things you need to engage and do. It's also you evaluating to see, are you making progress or not? Are you making headway or not? And if you do, then tweak accordingly or change accordingly. Mastery. Let's talk about mastery. So what I want you to do is identify a team that you manage or lead, or at least engaged in, and then give them a task to accomplish in 2 weeks. Okay. Give them a task. And this can be done online, of course. And use the steps given above to manage the process. And when I say the steps, I mean these steps right here. So you're giving them a task to do in the next 2 weeks and use this framework to manage that task, okay? From identifying a task to reviewing. Okay. So use these strategies to do that. All right, cool. So if you do that, then you'll be putting these tasks to test and you'll be able to own this information. So in your breakout rooms, you're going to discuss what did you find most useful in this presentation and how are you going to implement the lessons moving forward in your life and career stroke business. So that's what you're going to discuss with your colleagues in the next couple of minutes. And if you're watching the recording, just pause and reflect.